Yeah, we only have 12 minutes.
Oh, let me delete something first. Hello, little hoes. I'm Kristen, and welcome back to my channel. So I have a special guest, Mr. Filmman, who is going to be filming me today. And so I had the idea of doing a sort of countdown until New Year's with 3 video ideas I had. I don't know if I'm going to get around to doing all 3 of them. I just know myself. I'm hoping, but don't hold me accountable if I don't do all 3. So one of them is going to be a sort of review of 2019, some of the plants, how they've done since my last tour. And I did 3 of those. I did one for the sunroom, one for the kitchen and bathroom, and then another one for the living room. So I'm going to do a slightly quicker tour around all of those for sort of a recap of 2019. So we are in my sunroom now, and this is Freddy Cat. She has a hairball that she's trying to hack up right now, but 2019 review, she good. Say hi, Fred. Alright, so we lost our camera boy.
What?
There was a sudden freak accident. We're back. We lost the cameraman. It was a tragic accident. He's dying.
I'm dying.
He's dying. But it was just a little bit easier for me to hold the camera and move from plant to plant because he couldn't keep up. Per usual. Ooh. Alright, so this is my Ceropagia Sandersonii, and got this at the SCC greenhouse over the summer. It was only 15 bucks for this giant hanging basket, and it has been pretty much blooming non-stop since I got it. You can see little tiny flower, and it turns into big flower. Here, I'll pan down slowly so I don't give you all whiplash. I've had this Sandersonii since earlier spring. I got it off of Etsy as a rooted cutting, and it was probably about to there. And since it's gotten cooler out, it's put off all of this new growth. Then this Opuntia, which is leaning dramatically, doing some leaning tower crap there. And it definitely needs to be repotted and or cut back. But if any of you have dealt with Opuntia, you will know how awful, awful, awful they are to work with. And I'll even show you that Kalanchoe got too close to it and has spines stuck in it. So yeah, awful plant. I do need to repot it, but I might do that at a future date when I feel more reckless. Then another Kalanchoe, mother of thousands, which I also hate. I chopped it back, but it popped back with a vengeance. And also proceeded to sprout more down here in the pot of Haworthia and baby toes. You can see I plucked out a whole bunch there. Definitely hate that plant and will be trying to get rid of it. String of pearls. I did manage to get rid of the mealybugs that were on it fairly successfully. Haven't had any more issues since summer when I really blitzed it hard with various sprays and a systemic. So it's got some new growth on it here. This portion down here is fairly shaded, so it's probably not going to get much longer than this. The ends tend to abort themselves because they don't get enough sun. My bear paw cotyledon bloomed this year, which I was super impressed with. And I said before that I was going to repot it, and I never did. But it seems okay, seems happy enough, and it bloomed despite being in a tiny cramped pot. So I'm just going to roll with the fact that it likes to be root bound so I can get out of repotting it. Then a couple little Haworthias here. This bowl has turned out really nice. they've grown quite a bit. And then some mixed bag of success here. My lithops, I have 3 different varieties. These 2 I got this year. And that one, there's 3 little plants in there. I don't believe that those will make it. A couple have shriveled up. We'll see if they bounce back, but I doubt it. This one looked a little shrivelly for a bit after I planted it, but it's plumped back up pretty nicely. And you can see it flowered, which I was a little surprised. And then that little butt rock here is done really well. Hasn't done much, but it hasn't died either. And then the living stones. I'm not sure how I feel about these guys. I'm not quite sure what they like. I've been treating them like the lithops, but they have been getting slightly squishier. So I'm not sure if that's a sign I definitely need to water or if I should just leave it alone until spring when I see some new growth happening, which I feel that might be the best option. My aloe bellatula. You can see that this one is slightly shriveled. Probably needs to be repotted again, and it is in a lot more sun than some of my other bellatulas, so that's why it takes on that reddish hue. Right here is my Athona capensis. I think they call it little pickles plants. What do you want?
Hey.
Hey. So this is the Athona capensis, or little pickle plant. You can see it's got a tiny little bloom. It's had a few in the past few weeks. And been a really easy care plant. I'm digging it. Oh no, I just smashed some pickles. But then this is sort of my little half moon table. Hi, Fred. I have the Cissus tuberosa over here, and it is losing a bunch of its leaves and going somewhat dormant for the winter months. And a dogtail cactus, which I propagated as a cutting, and it seems to be taking off. This is the Peperomia trinervis bicolor, and I put that in the head planter because my poor crested variety died of cactus that I put in there. It was just a little bit too big, too much soil for it. I think it got a little overwatered at one point, so it passed away and is now sitting in a shallow grave at the dump. Then silver dollar plant. Have had a couple of leaves that have died in the rooting process, but it's still kind of alive for now. Then this is the Hindu rope. Uh-oh. Is there mealybugs on this? I think there is. Damn it. That's the Hindu rope that I got from Eldon Tropicals this spring. It was the... Was it Eldon? No, that was Glasshouse. That's the Glasshouse Works Hindu rope that I got for $5. Wasn't super impressed with it when I got it. Still not very super impressed with it. So nothing's changed. Then a Ripsalis trigona there that I recently repotted. He was having some failure to thrive issues just because the living room is fairly shaded. So I repotted him and put him in more sun. We'll see if he bounces back. Then this is a slightly newer plant. This is Mammillaria Fred. And it's a very tiny little mammillaria without too many spines. And they couldn't pass it up. Look at the little nubs. I really like that little guy. Then this here is kind of the shit show area. This plant, this is my sock, which I'll be pointing with. This is my Calathea Freddy, and I'm pretty sure that one and The narrow philodendron over here, I did a repotting video of in the same go. Does that even make sense? I don't know. I repotted those guys in a video. And both of them are not doing well, but they haven't died, so we'll continue to see. I think the philodendron is still experiencing some root rot. I've been trying to keep it slightly on the drier side. We shall see. And I have no clue about the calathea. If he lives, he lives. If he dies, he dies. At this point, I just don't care. And that is my very unfortunate looking Medusa head euphorbia. And I was a terrible plant parent. I put him on the ground in the sunroom, and I thought it was in enough sunlight, but I think between being slightly more shaded and not being in a cactus soil, very dry, gritty soil, it has started to yellow up, die back, but I'm hoping to repot it in some gritty cactus mix and hopefully recover it. Then there's the variegated opuntia here that is collecting a whole bunch of cat hair for me. And it seems to be doing okay on the ground. I haven't really watered it too much. Then moving up here, I've got hernia, the Opuntia rufida minima, the dragon fruit cutting in the back, and then the Sirius here, which has gotten so big I had to move him from the corner, the windowsill, to the floor. And he is turning kind of a paler color, so I am going to be giving him some iron, hopefully, in the next few weeks. And I've heard that that really turns them a nice deep blue-green again. Then my agave perii has put out a number of pups, and it's also recently had some dead leaves appear at the base. So I'll be cutting those back. Probably going to need to repot him in the spring too, just because he's gotten so big, what with those pups. Then my rainbow hedgehog cactus there, which is an Echinoceras rigidimus rubrispinus. It's a mouthful right there. I just thought its spines were pretty cool, plus the pink coloration. Then my variegated crested Lactea cristata euphorbia. It's put off a fair amount of growth this year. And moving on. Just get smacked by vines. You can see all the little balls and how big the rosary vine is. And I'm thinking about chopping it back in the spring just because it's gotten so long and kind of ragged. Then there's the Hoya Cunninghama or Cummingana. I don't know. It all sounds very dirty. I'll just put the name on screen. I got that one at the SCC, and this one I've had no trouble growing whatsoever. I think it really likes this full sun area. I probably water it weekly. Then the rickrack cactus. And this is, I don't know if you guys can see, this lighting is kind of crap. That's better. This is, I believe it to be the Rasta lipstick plant. And it had some sudden decline over the late summer, fall. So I repotted it, and it desperately needed it. And you can see I haven't gone through and cleaned up too much of the brown yet. But you can see all of the new growth that's starting to appear. And it's very interesting about this plant is that, see if I can get that in focus. What's very interesting about this plant, and again, I'm not entirely sure if it's the Rasta, but I believe it to be. There are other curly forms out there. They don't start out very curly at all. They come out pretty normal looking, and then as they start to mature, the leaves will start to curl. So I'm happy I was able to resurrect this plant. Then this is the string of, I don't know, beans, hooks, whatever. And unfortunately, I don't know if it was just lack of water or I had to really spray and systemic it hard because it got hit by the mealies over the summer. But it has a lot of naked vines up at the top. The lower portions of the vines are totally fine and plump and juicy. But this portion definitely isn't. So come spring, I might try and unwind all this and...
Good luck.
Yeah, I know. Good luck. And see if I can maybe wind this top foot or so back into the top of the pot, staple that down in there with just some little hooks, and then maybe that will start to resprout so there's not so much dead in there. Then, oh, I almost forgot. My rattlesnake calathea and Madagascar palm, both doing really well down there. And those are boyfriend's feet. Probably quite stinky.
These are clean, brand new.
Furry though. So this is my Euphorbia horrida. And it's putting off some very weird, very tiny new growth. I'm not sure how I feel about this cactus. It's very odd how it grows, and I'm hoping it will plump that new growth up some. It's a little Stapelia cutting that I have growing right there. Very sad looking Hoya curtisii, which my dear friend Jess managed to get a couple more for me from SCC. So I'm going to try again and hopefully not kill them. Then the Hoya bilobata has done quite well. He did start to look a little rough because I had him in the living room, so I moved him here where he's in pretty much full sun, and that seems to have made all the difference. Now back over here, sorry guys, I'm kind of all over the place with this one. Fire sticks continuing to grow. Didn't get much coloration, maybe a little bit in late summer, but not a lot to speak of. Right there is my variegated lipstick plant. Freckles and Speckles mangave, Aloe aloe veras, the cutting of variegated Hoya carrii that my coworker Karen gave me. Thanks again, Karen. And I'm really sorry to say it, but the ZZ Raven plant my friend Jess gave me had some root rot going on, so it eventually just fell over and the stem was starting to definitely rot out. So I tried to save the leaves, and I'm going to be propagating them in water here, and I'm not sure if it's better to propagate them in water with the leaf cuttings or just directly in soil. So if anyone has any opinions on that, love to know. Then that is the Medanilla Grigori Hembali. It hasn't been doing great in the bathroom, so I'm thinking maybe the sunroom, a little bit brighter sun, a little bit more air circulation, maybe he'll pop out of it. Then the variegated jade plant, it's doing pretty good in here. And this monster, it's the Bowia volubilis, or climbing onion, or sea onion. This is literally all of this, all the way up to the top, is new growth, literally just from the last maybe week and a half or so. And this is a pretty awesome, easy care plant. The only thing I will say against it maybe is that it grows so fast, and it's probably a good idea to have more trellising options available for it. Plus the fact that the old foliage will start to die suddenly, and then the new growth will start to automatically reappear. So you have a lot of dead mixed with your living. And that's never a good mix. Then up on the shelf, various cacti, big hanging basket of Aloe zanzibarica or Zelandica or something of that nature. This is my sort of coral bell calancho and variegated Hindu rope down here. She's doing pretty good. That sad specimen is my frizzle sizzle. It's one that definitely hasn't impressed me. I have it in full sun in my sunroom and it never spirals, so I don't know what I'm doing wrong. But another Opuntia, variegated agave, and then a few more little rando things. My Monstera Adansonii, and he put off a ton of growth from spring until summer, but some of that growth just did not have any foliage on it, so I've cut that back, and I recently propagated it in my LECA propagation experimentation video. My staghorn back there, doing good as always. This is my fiddle leaf fig, and I am super excited that this guy... That was the camera boy. I'm super excited that this thing is doing so well, and I think we all know that they are notorious for being kind of picky, but I think once you get them to a certain size, it's a lot easier with the more established root system. It is by a air vent, but that doesn't seem to cause it too much issue, and I think full sun is definitely key. This is roommate's big jade plant, which I put in the sunroom for him because the living room is so dreadfully dark. That's the aberrant form Philodendron rugosum. It's very interesting. I thought when I bought it, it would have that sort of corrugated foliage that the rugosum is known for, but it's quite smooth. Still very happy with it, and I seem to have nuked that fungal issue that I was experiencing with it. Then this is my Manila magnifica. It's just putting off some new growth and seems quite happy in the sunroom. I was a little worried it wouldn't be happy with the lack of humidity in here, but it seems to be doing just fine. It did probably grow faster and a little better in the bathroom where it was a lot more humid, but it has adjusted to in here quite well. Then this guy here is my poor little Ficus alley. And it dropped a whole bunch of foliage very rapidly. And it was quite root bound, so I repotted it. I put it in here. Hopefully it will bounce back pretty well, but with ficus, oftentimes you will find, especially with the woodier varieties, they do tend to drop quite a bit of foliage in the winter months. You can see that cat sulking in the corner because I'm not paying attention. Huh, Freddy? Are you sulky? Hi, baby. Hi, Mama's meow. Hi. Are you sulking? Meow. Then my mottled form of Syngonium. And it's kind of cool. It was more impressive to me, I think, earlier in the year when there was a lot brighter sunlight. I think that really helped bring out the variegation, but it's kind of just plain Jane for me right now. You can see there's some other growth down there. Oh, maybe that's from a different plant, honestly. Okay, let's check this out. No, it's really just a oddity. I think the brighter sunlight definitely helps bring out the coloration. Then in my beautiful, absolutely love this hanging basket, this shell ensemble here, have my Ripsalis, some baby Sansevierias, and then my lace plant here. And then a little peperomia up there. Forget the name on that one. I'll have to put it on screen. Then my giant black pagoda lipstick plant. It's doing incredibly well. And look at all the flowers on it. This plant responds really well to fertilizer. And I did put some more bloom fertilizer on it a couple weeks ago, and I think that really stimulated all those blossoms. Oh my god, the glare is terrible. Then the philodendron micans, ruby cascade peperomia, and in the background, the glorious, ooh, hi buddy, the glorious Cebu blue pothos. Or epipremnum, I should say. And that is going to be the tour of the sunroom. So now probably on to the kitchen. It's like deja vu. Another video started this way, with boyfriend peeing in the background. Alrighty, so I tried to get all of the tour video done yesterday and it didn't happen. I was getting hangry and needed some food. And then I got distracted by doing another video. So back onto the video. This is going to be the tour of the kitchen and bathroom. So here's the pothos, or Brazil philodendron I should say. And I think I spoke too soon before. Maybe I hurt its feelings, but it's put off quite a bit of new growth. And by quite a bit, I mean like 2 inches worth. So I'm not unhappy with that. Then moving over to on top of, get this out of the way, on top of the microwave, that's the spotted squill. I think it used to be a Scylla and now it's the Laborlania. It's not my favorite plant. It's pretty ratty when it gets older. It's very cute when it's just a tiny little single bulb or two. But as it is now, I'm thinking I'm gonna repot it, divide it, and give some away. Propagation jar with jade. Propagation jar with Cebu blue. Some whips of the Monstera Adansonii that don't have leaves. I don't hold out much hope for them, but figured I'd try. And then a little jewel orchid down in there, and probably a Sultan Pecana right there as well. And then my friend Jess was kind enough to get some more Hoya curtisii for me at the SEC greenhouse, since mine is doing so poorly. I'm tempted to put it in my terrarium that I got not too long ago. I don't know, maybe they need a little bit more humid in my house. She's grown hers pretty well, just treating them as like a somewhat succulent plant and letting it dry out somewhat between waterings. And then this sad grouping has, well, 2 out of the 3 have done a lot worse since my past video. This is my Calathea rufibarba, and it had some pretty nasty mealybugs on it, and I don't know, either it is too sensitive of a plant for systemic insect control, methoxycloprid or imidacloprid, however you want to say it, but it started to get these very brown, nasty patches to them. So I'm thinking that for future, if it recovers, I will not be using that, but will be either washing it off soap and water, or maybe a spray of some type. This is my Alocasia poly, and it has, again, sort of taken a turn for the worse, and I think possibly it was stressed out because it also had mealybugs, which I wasn't aware of for a while. Then I think the colder weather, repotting it, kind of a trifecta, just sort of made it lose a bunch of leaves. But I'm hopeful. It's a pretty strong, vigorous growing plant. Then, is it the Siam, Queen, Princess, whatever, Aglaonema? It's doing well. It's got a couple more leaves. Stilt Peperomia, no surprise, doing just fine. The little Buddhist temple Crassula somewhere all in there. Happy little clam. The Disocactus right here. I always want to say epiphyllum. It's not correct, but whatever. Then the Stipelia. This guy has been giving me a lot of trouble. It has been very mealybug magnet in the recent months, and I try and use various things. You guys will know that I even got out the alcohol, the rubbing alcohol. I got out the alcohol for myself and the rubbing alcohol for it, and tried to treat it that way, but it hasn't done very much. It's probably helped a little bit, but I need to either systemic it or maybe get some more sprays. You can see it right down there. There's a little weird tip on it, and that did happen soon after I systemiced it. So I'm thinking I might be using the systemic a little too much, and that I might need to cut back and just start using some more sprays, maybe get some neem or whatnot. That's a Ceropegia ampliata, I believe it was. And then the Senecio, the little pickle Senecio. It's grown quite a bit. Put off some new little growth. My Adenium obesa literally hasn't done anything. It dropped all of its leaves. It's still plump, it's still alive, but it just wants to be dormant for winter like me. And then that little Pinwicula down there has been putting off some good flowers. Moving up, the Scindapsus or silver pothos, or whatever people call that thing. It's a Scindapsus, and it's been trailing. And then the little Dickia, the sad string of variegated pearls. Oh look, it's got a little baby. I don't know what the problem with this plant is, but still hasn't done much. There's the black form of Aeonium, which is kind of floppy in its pot, and it's leaning up against the window. Easter cactus, the cuttings of my epiphyllum that my coworker gave me, Tephorocactus, and then the variegated bear paw is up there. So not much changed too dramatically in this section, except for, unfortunately, the Alocasia and Aletheia there, which took a turn for the worse. Now to the bathroom. Hope I didn't give you all whiplash there. Don't need to see what's in there. So this is the bathroom, and you can see this big and in charge Cissus discolor up here. I'll try and get close, but recently it has been having these sort of little puckering marks on them, and I thought it might have been a gall mite, even though I wasn't able to find any bugs on it. Looked under the microscope at work, couldn't see anything. A viewer did mention that Steve's leaves told him it was edema, so essentially either inadequate or infrequent irregular waterings will cause that, which I did not know that it would cause puckering like that. Very awesome information, and thank you for sharing. Then I did sort of move some things around from my last video. This Calathea zebrina was over there. The squamiferum in that pot was in the windowsill. Just had to shuffle some things around to make room, and nothing seems too worse for the wear. Squamiferum is getting massive in this corner, and the Jose Bueno philodendron has put off a new leaf since I moved it to this corner, so it seems happy. Love this thing, the Dioscorea discolor. It's trailing up this trellis I got it. I did expect this plant to have a lot larger leaves. I know on Instagram people show quite massive foliage on theirs. Does anyone else have one, and what does your foliage look like? I'm guessing just because it's starting to climb and trail more that the leaves are getting smaller. But look at how cool that is. Super cool. And the Peperomia prostrata is alive and well, despite my thinking I would kill it and it looking like an easy victim for me. It's alive and doing amazing. Orchid in the back, Mandevalia, something of that nature. I'm also thinking I may put that orchid in my terrarium once I get it up and going. Then the Rhaphidophora tetrasperma, moved it a little closer to the window. Seems alright. Still hasn't gotten this Splitsville on it, but that's okay. I can wait. Then this amazing plant, this big corrugated foliage on the Monstera carstenianum Peru. I got it. It was probably at this point, so it's put off a fair amount of new growth. I'm very happy with this plant. Then Anthurium veitchii, or veitchi, the king. You can see the tiny little ripples in it. It's going at a molasses snail pace. I don't know, is that even a saying? The pace of molasses? I know snail's pace is. Pace of molasses? I don't know. Then there's the rabbit's foot fern, doing what rabbit foot ferns do. Footing and dropping foliage. Then, oh yeah, I forgot to mention, right down in here is the Piper nigrum. Not doing so hot. It did kind of abort some of its new growth. I think I'm going to have to repot it at some point. But for now, it's hidden and not my problem. Up here, it's the Phlebodium aureum doing alright. The Tenanthe doing very not alright. The Stromanthe, surprisingly I haven't killed it. And the Lucky Bamboo, which despite being on the shelf with Lucky Bamboo, that Tenanthe bit the dust, so he did not have any rub-off luck. And that's the bathroom, so now we move hastily and or slowly into the living room for the living room portion of the tour. A wide angle of the rack and plant table. Okie dokie, little smokies. So this is the table in the living room, and it looks a lot different than it did a few months ago. One is because a whole bunch of plants seem to be having trouble in here with the lack of lighting. It just seemed a little too dark for some plants. That's why I had to rush them to the emergency room, aka the sunroom. But I kind of letting a secret slide. This is my big terrarium here, and at some point I am going to arrange it and fill it with more plants and hopefully make a video on it. There in that corner is the Norfolk pine, which has done pretty much diddly shit since I showed it last. It's a slow grower for sure, at least for me. Pilea peperomoides, not doing much, definitely needs to be repotted soon. Curly Locks epiphyllum, he did lose some of his new growth, so shame on me, I forgot to water him for a couple times. Dickia in the background, not doing very much except collecting more cat hair. The Sansevieria Moonlight and Cylindrica, again, not doing a whole lot. So they're here, they're doing their slow roll. Down in this chaotic corner, there's the Bird of Paradise, Giant Ass Monstera, Stretch and Fiddleite, and then a Shalom. However, the big, beautiful Obovata Hoya I got hasn't put out new leaves at those tips yet, so I'm very curious to see if it will, or those are just going to be naked little whips. You know, Hoya whips and chains excite me, to quote Rihanna. And yes, she does love plants. Then the little Cissus Albonidans. I think he's doing okay. I'm kind of a short person, and this is kind of out of my sight, out of my reach. He's doing all right, I think. Every time I look at it, I'm tempted to move it somewhere I can care for it better, and then I forget. Maybe I'll move a Micans up in there. You can always rely on Micans. Then up there, oh, I don't know if I can. So this is gonna be a very weird angle, guys, but another Epiphyllum night blooming cereus up there, pothos, spider plant, bird's nest, and the jackfruit. Nothing up there is doing particularly well. Again, I am a short person, and those tend to not get as much care. The big asparagus fern, the plumosa fern, I plucked all the yellow, most of the yellow, and all the dead out a couple weeks ago, and it looks better. I'm not sure if it's really doing any better, but I'll say it is. This is kind of my rarer plant zone right here. I have the Calathea mosaica here, and it has since put out these really nice little new antennae here, a little proboscis. Not sure why those are super tall like that, and the rest haven't put off any new growth, but whatever. The Calathea ornata and Makoyana, I believe it is. I haven't killed them, so that's a bonus. Then the Ring of Fire philodendron. It's kind of been disappointingly slow, if I'm going to be honest. I did expect some more growth from it, and you can see right here in the center, this might be a new leaf, but it is ridiculously slow growing for me. So maybe come spring, I'll put it outside and it'll be humid and happy. Update, here is my leca jar with cuttings, and nobody's killed over that I know of. And that right there, see if I can get that. That right there is the burl marks, the variegated, that little root here and up in there. So I think it's maybe grown ever so slightly. Oh, you can see. Can you? I don't know. Can you? Is it in focus? The Adansonii has a little tiny root developing more there. So I think overall it's doing pretty good. In the back is the Philodendron gloriosum here. It lost a leaf, it got a leaf. It really hasn't pushed out a whole lot of growth. And honestly, it's probably just the winter. It's kind of about that maintenance more than the growth. Probably see a whole bunch more new growth in the spring. Then the amazing variegated burl marks philodendron. Doesn't look too bad for my having chopped off a fairly large piece of it. Then the Monstera Adansonii the Swiss cheese vine in the background there. Yeah, I still haven't gotten around to staking it, which I should. The painted lady philodendron, it's just not a very happy plant, and I'm thinking it might need some bathroom time. It really tended to look perkier when I had it in the bathroom, so maybe it just needs more humidity. Big Bellatula aloe in the background that looks like it's needing to be cleaned out pretty bad. That is my Rhaphidophora crypantha, and he's kind of just, he's sitting up against this edge of the rack until I can put him somewhere more long term. And again, I might be putting that in the terrarium. We'll see. Flash Gordon philodendron, again, not doing a whole lot. It did put off that little leaf not too long ago, a few months back. Variegation's not stellar on this plant, but it's something. Here's another Micans. I'm not sure if you can see that very well. Another Micans right here. In the background is a jewel orchid, which I'm trying to recover. Don't know if I'm doing a very good job at it. Then the Alocasia retusa. It lost a leaf. It's still alive. I don't know if I'm doing something right or wrong. Again, that might be one I'll put in my terrarium. The Hadiora, doing just fine. The cutting, the fairly rooted cutting that I had of the variegated Hoya, not doing great. I'm still kind of learning with the Hoyas. Neon Epipremnum. The Spotty Dracaena in the background. There's a nosy cat right there, watching the trash go by. This is the Monstera siltempicana, and it seems to be doing alright. It seems to be losing a little bit of its silver. Not sure if I want to move it to the sunroom. There's not much room left in there. Hoya publicalyx cuttings seeming to do okay. The Latherbachii Hoya and the Ripsaliadopsis. Everybody's doing okay. That's a very sad looking philodendron. I think it's Deja Vu. Do I really care? Again, I'm really not sure that I do. But he could probably use some more fertilizer. The Hobbit or Gollum Jade in the back. He's, again, not really a favorite. Pregnant onion next to him. Don't really care. Here is a baggie with some more starts of the jackfruit. The Sparkling Sarah Aglaonema. Hoya multifida, I think it is. Not quite sure the variety of this Hoya. He's been doing okay, as well as the Erythroripsalis. That's going to be the video for today on sort of a recap of 2019 and tour of my plants. I will try and link my past tour videos below so you can, if you want, get a sort of idea of what everything looked like before versus now. And I think that's about it. So talk to y'all later. Bye!